Are you in the market for an all-terrain scooter? Well, in this video, we're going to compare the Wrangler 2 and the Eagle All-Terrain, and we'll see which one's the best. So stay tuned to this video review. So in this video, we're going to go over the Wrangler 2 Med and the Eagle All-Terrain scooter. These are the two of the more all-terrain scooters on the market today. We have 20 different categories that we're going to go over and give a check mark on each category that we think is best and tally those up towards the end. And then at the very end, we're going to show you some all-terrain footage as well comparing these two scooters. Now to jump right in, the first category I'm going to go over is going to be overall speed. So now the overall speed, this technically ties in this market because they both go about 11 miles an hour. The Wrangler states somebody a little bit lighter weight might go 11.4, where the Eagle goes about 11 miles an hour. But just for general sense, they both go 11 miles an hour. It's not like one is a lot faster than the other. So they'll both get a check mark in this category here. The next category we're going to go over is going to be weight capacity. Now the weight capacity on the Wrangler 2 Med is 450 pounds, while the weight capacity on the Eagle All-Terrain is going to be 500 pounds. So the Eagle All-Terrain is going to get the check mark in this category. Now we're going to go into batteries. The Wrangler 2 is either going to have an optional 75 amp battery, which is standard, or you're able to upgrade to 100 amp hour batteries, and that is going to be identical on the Eagle All-Terrain. Once again, you're going to be able to get 75 amp batteries, or you're able to get up to the 100 amp hour battery option. Now we're going to go over the overall range drive distance on the scooters. So the Wrangler over here, depending on your weight range, with the standard 75 amp batteries, if you're at the top of the weight range, it says about 13 miles on a charge. If you're more about a 200-pound person, then you might be able to get up to a 20-mile range. So obviously that varies based on the weight of the user. On the Eagle, they only mention with the 75 amp batteries, and they don't give you a weight range. It just says up to 34 miles of total drive distance with the 75 amp batteries. I would be a little bit on the caution side that that's really going to go 34 miles, but just general specs, the Eagle All-Terrain is going to win in the overall range category. Now we're going to go through suspension on the unit. Now both of these units have suspension, but if you look at the actual size of the shock, and just from me personally driving both of these units, the suspension category is definitely going to go with the Wrangler 2 as the winner. So now we're going to talk about the motors and sheer power between these two scooters. In this category here, there's no comparison. On the Eagle All-Terrain, there's a single motor in the back that's about at 1800 watt at peak. On the Wrangler 2 Med, you have dual motors, so you have one tied to each rear wheel. That's a little bit over 2200 watts in each motor. So you're talking about 4400 watts of power on the Wrangler 2 as compared to about 1800 watts on the Eagle All-Terrain. So in this category, if I could put 3 check marks, I would have extra check marks for the Wrangler 2 for overall power. Now we're going to compare the overall size of these two units. Both are very similar size. The Eagle All-Terrain, they measured this at 31.7 inches in width and 63 inches in length, where the Wrangler 2 is 61.5 inches in length by 32.5 inches wide. So it's a little bit wider, but a hair shorter. So overall size, they're both going to get a check mark in here. And the reason being is if one scooter was a lot smaller and had an easier way of putting on a smaller transport, like an AL100 or a standard carrier, then maybe one would get the check mark over the other. But for the actual size of the units, they're going to be very comparable in overall size. So the next category we're going to talk about is transportation of the units. This is kind of a big key for individuals that are not just driving them on their property. Both of these are very large. The only lift that this would really fit on is outside of a trailer or having ramps to get in the back of a pickup truck, is maybe going to be a Harmar 301 XL HD. Now, granted, you don't want to use either one of these units when you have the 100 amp hour batteries, because now you're stretching the weight capacity of that lifting capacity on the lift. But if you do have the 75 amp batteries, either one of these would fit on the AL301XL by Harmar. Now the difference is going to be there are tie down points on the Wrangler. There are no tie down points on the Eagle All-Terrain. So once again, since they're both big, I'm going to give the check mark to the Wrangler 2 Med just because there are tie down points on this scooter while they're not on the Eagle All-Terrain. Now we're going to go over the overall seat sizes on these units. So on the Eagle over here, you are going to have a standard size seat. I know they call it 22 inches. It's really probably more about 21 and a half in the width. And then by the depths, about 19 inches in depth. So the seat is not going to be any other size besides this. It is a standard size seat. It does have a recline handle on it, and it does recline back a little bit farther. And it does swivel and does have a slider on there, so you are able to adjust the seat some. On the Wrangler 2, you are going to have a few different seat size options, an 18, a 20, or a 22-inch seat. All of them are going to have the swivel handle and the slider. It still is going to recline back a little bit. So in this category, I might still give both the check mark just for the simple fact that the standard seat over here is not an optional upgraded charge. It's a bigger seat, where it is an optional upgraded charge for the larger seat outside of the 18-inch seat on the Wrangler 2. But because you can have different seat size options to really fit the person better, I like that a little bit better. But I do like that the cost is built in with this size seat, and this seat reclines a little bit further. So in this category, they're both going to get a check mark. Now we're going to go over overall tire size. On the Eagle All-Terrain, you are going to have 6-inch tires, and then they're about 13 inches in height, where on the Wrangler 2, they're going to be about 14-inch tires by about 5¼ inches width. Now, it depends on what you're looking at. This is a little bit wider of a tire. The treads are a little bit better. Over here, they're both pneumatic tires, so I'm not going to say one tire per se is better than the other. They're just one's a little bit shorter and a little bit wider. This one has a little bit better treads for traction. So in this category, they would both get a check mark. Now we're going to discuss the overall display of the unit. So on the Wrangler 2, it is a digital screen. It's not colored. It is still going to give you some pretty good information over here on the screen. You are going to get your overall speed, your trip distance, your battery gauge, and then also you can change it to trip or odometer on here. So pretty basic, but it is still a digital screen. Over here on the Eagle All-Terrain, it is a little bit different. It is a nicer upgraded looking screen. You are able to adjust the different displays on here. There's 3 different options to choose from. I do believe the way it's angled, it's going to be more visible. And then kind of going into that same enhancement when we're talking about the screen and the technology, I want to mention as well that on this you are able to turn the Eagle All-Terrain on with a key fob. Not a fob, a little tab. You're able to just hold this up here and it actually turns the scooter on, or you can use the key either or. So in the display category per se, I'm going to go ahead and give that to the Eagle All-Terrain. Now we're going to compare the overall lights and the horn feature. So both of these units are going to have lights, as you can see. The lights are very comparable in what they actually show. If I put the hazard lights on for both, you'll be able to see they both have hazard lights. I would say the Eagle All-Terrain might have a little bit bigger of a display light, but not necessarily a brighter light. And then when it comes down to the horn for the Eagle All-Terrain, we'll listen to the horn here. Decent sized horn. Over here on the Wrangler 2. So for pure sound, the Wrangler 2 has a much louder horn. And I would say between having the lights and the turn signals, that's going to be comparable. So in this category, for the lights and the horn, I'm going to go with the Wrangler 2. There is a category here, maybe sound, Bluetooth capabilities. There is not going to have any speakers or built-in sound on the Wrangler 2. Over here on the Eagle All-Terrain, there actually is going to be built-in Bluetooth speakers. which is pretty cool. So if you do have your phone, you were to put some music on, you'll actually be able to hear that. So just wanted to kind of show you that there are built-in Bluetooth speakers there. So that's a pretty cool feature that is only going to be found on the Eagle All-Terrain scooter. It's not going to be found on the Wrangler. So in this category, Eagle All-Terrain gets the check mark. So now we're going to talk about color options, kind of customizability on the different units. The Eagle All-Terrain is going to come in a gray or a red, where the Wrangler is going to have about 5 different colors. I know they're going to have a black, an orange, a green, and a blue currently on the market. So for color-wise, the Wrangler 2 is going to win this because there are more options. So now we're going to compare ground clearance. On the Eagle All-Terrain, typically your ground clearance is obviously going to be what's your lowest point to the ground. That's going to be at your motor transaxle on both of these units. So on the Eagle All-Terrain, you're 3.5 inches of ground clearance at the bottom of the motor, while on the Wrangler 2, your ground clearance of the motor is 5.5 inches. So you're 2 inches higher off the ground for your motor clearance. So in this category, the Wrangler 2 is going to win. Now in this category, we're going to talk about seat to ground height. Only might make a difference if you want to swivel the seat and get out of the unit. The Eagle All-Terrain is 28.5 inches from the seat to the ground, where the Wrangler is 32 inches seat to ground height. So once again, you're able to drop that about an inch lower and get that to about 27.5 inches off the ground. So the Wrangler 2 seat is going to sit higher up off the ground. In this category, sometimes that might be a benefit for some. You might want to sit a little bit lower. So just for the simple fact of maybe getting in and out of the unit, I'm going to give the check mark to the Eagle All-Terrain, just because you're going to be 27.5 to 28.5 inches from the top of the seat to the ground. Next category is going to be your leg room and how you actually fit on the scooter. So it's really going to be about the size of the deck. The deck is going to be on the Wrangler 2 about 24 inches in overall width, and you're going to have about 15 inches of usable space for your feet. On the Eagle All-Terrain, you're a hair wider at about 25 inches, but you don't have nearly the same amount of legroom space. So your feet are going to have about 12 inches, where you have about 15 inches on the Wrangler 2. So just for overall comfort and the size of the floorboard, the Wrangler 2 is going to win this category. Next category we're going to go over is going to be storage. On the Wrangler 2, you are able to purchase a front basket and a rear basket, but they do not come standard with the unit. So for storage wise, there's nothing that comes with it standard. On the Eagle All-Terrain, you are going to get a front basket, and you're also going to get the rear locking storage tote. So for storage purpose wise, in those categories, the Eagle All-Terrain is going to get the check mark. So now for accessories, the Wrangler 2 is going to come with this cup holder kind of over here, and you are going to get the dual motors on the Wrangler 2. On the Eagle All-Terrain, I guess we could kind of throw the front basket and rear basket back in there as accessories since it is coming with it. It is going to come with dual mirrors, and it is going to come with a cell phone holder. So for pure accessory wise, and there's also going to be 2 cup holders built into the floor. So accessory wise, the Eagle All-Terrain is going to get the check mark. Yeah, so the price point-ish, this is going to be the low $5,000 without upgrading the batteries. This is going to be in the middle $5,000 price point range. So price point range, the Eagle All-Terrain is going to be a little bit cheaper than the Wrangler 2. So if we're looking for lower cost, then I'm going to go with the Eagle All-Terrain. It's going to be a little bit lower price point. Next category we're going to go over is maybe setup and assembly or ready to use. The Eagle All-Terrain, you do have to connect the batteries. You do have to put the seat post on. We do have an unboxing video so you can see this. There's going to be quite a bit more steps that you have to do. And honestly, the Eagle All-Terrain is a very hard unit to get off of the corrugated boxes that they ship it on. But there are some white glove optionals, it's additional options that you can ship with this. On the Wrangler 2, the unit does ship fully assembled with your batteries already connected, and all you have to do is hit your switch. So in the sense of setup for delivery wise, the Wrangler 2 is clearly going to win this category since it ships assembled and is a lot easier to get off the pallet. Where here, if you're not able to do it, able-bodied people, you're going to have to get multiple individuals to help you get it off the pallet. Now this last category we're going to do is going to be weighted on a 5-point scale. It is going to be the all-terrain capabilities. So we took both of these scooters, not this exact one, but we did take this Eagle all-terrain, and we took them out to the same property doing the same type of terrains just to kind of see how they each handled. So on the Eagle all-terrain, the one thing I would say is it does accelerate pretty fast. It stops pretty good. It is going to have a downside though. When I was driving it off-road, it did seem to be rock pretty good, as in I already mentioned the suspension is a little bit better on the other unit here. It did seem to rock quite a bit while driving, and then the hard part is if you're going anything that's not smooth, there's a sensor that as soon as those handlebars get a little bit out of alignment, it is going to reduce your speed. So when you go to turn or you move the handlebars at all, it does bring your speed down to about 5 miles an hour, which sometimes can be a little bit annoying if you are just trying to make a light turn and still be able to be at that 11-mile-an-hour speed. I would also say that we tested this on a climbing angle that was 17 degrees just to try it out. It was a steep hill and grass, and I could say that did not work at all on that hill. It wouldn't even begin to go up the hill. It is stable. I did go sideways on that hill just to kind of see the stability of the unit. It is a lower, wider base unit, so it is a very stable unit, but this is not going to be made for something that actually wants to climb an incline. If it is flat ground, that is all-terrain type ground, which you'll see in the video of us kind of going through some thick bushes and stuff, it didn't have a problem there, but I would say once you get past maybe a 7 to 8 degree incline, it really does not want to have the power to be able to climb. So overall, the Eagle all-terrain, I'd probably give it for the all-terrain category 2 out of 5 check marks because it is a decent unit. It does have the nice display, but for the all-terrain capabilities, it's really just going to probably come in at 2 out of 5. Now, once again, doing the 5 check mark category over here on the Wrangler 2. The Wrangler 2, still, I've had a few minor complaints of people saying this was a little bit stiff when they were driving it. But to me, I did not feel that. I don't feel it rock as much when you're going on uneven ground as I did on the Eagle all-terrain. Plenty of power, plenty of ground clearance. We really plowed through some pretty heavy-duty stuff with this unit. And then I can also tell you that same hill that was at the 17.5 degree mark, I started at the bottom. You can see in the video overlay, my dad was in probably one of these videos. This thing flew up that hill. No problem at all, just because this is going to have 4,400 watts of power as compared to about 1,800 watts of power. So when we're talking pure all-terrain capabilities, I'm going to go ahead and give the Wrangler 2 a 5 out of 5. So we've tallied up the points here. We came up with 15 total points that we came up with on the Eagle all-terrain. I do believe this is going to have some nice advantages of kind of the optional, or not optional, the accessories you get with the unit, the display, the Bluetooth speakers, the way how it accelerates. It's really more of a cruising type scooter that, hey, if I want to live on a golf course, I want to go off into the grass, things like that. It is a nicely made scooter, and if you've never driven the Wrangler 2, this might have enough power for you. But this did get a total of 15 points. Now the Wrangler 2, we did come in at 18 points. It doesn't have all the frills and the looks maybe that the Eagle all-terrain has. It doesn't have the speakers, but when we're talking all-terrain, we're talking about sheer power. You want to climb objects, you want to go through different things, you want to go out in the woods. There's nothing really that even comes close to the Wrangler 2. So in this guide, if you are looking for an all-terrain all-terrain scooter that can really get you almost anywhere besides beach sand, the Wrangler 2 is going to be the clear-cut winner.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And my name is Alex. We're co-owners of Marc's Mobility.
I started this company in 1995.
We sell many products, not just what you see in this video. If you have any questions or concerns, please call us at the number below at 800-677-6293. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.